Spencer, everybody sees you now as this guy who's like, you've got mission, you've got purpose, you've got massive businesses that you don't talk about very much. You've got this podcast, but 10 years ago plus, you also struggled with relevance, mental health, even wondering if you still wanted to be on this planet. And I was wondering if you could talk about that, because, well, I'm just gonna go there. When I got to Dubai about a year ago, I knew a girl here, and she posted a video on her Instagram, and she was e-foiling out in the water. It's these electronic foils, and it looks like you're floating on water. And I said, wow, that looks cool. She says, do you want to do it? I said, okay. And I met her and a couple of guys, and there were these guys, they were like totally jacked. They had these foil boards, and they would go out and do these things. They gave me one of their boards, they taught me how to do it. And I was joking that they felt like kind of the guys in Point Break. They would like go surf, they were handling their business. And at one point I said, well, we got to skydive if we're in Point Break. And so we all went out skydiving, and I called them the Point Break crew. And when people say, oh, Dubai's full of, these superficial people, I was like, no. These are like the most generous, amazing people in the world. And yesterday I found out that one of the guys who would get up at 4 a.m. and post his training videos and post his Rogan inspirational quotes and was so generous, he ended his life over the weekend. And I just couldn't imagine this happening to a guy like that. And he looked like the guy that would never do that. And again, super strong, super in shape, super generous. His name was Sam Sutherland, and I just couldn't believe it when I saw the post, and I don't think anybody can believe it.
Sam Sutherland?
Yeah, Sutherland's is his name. He was a construction guy here, and then again, a big part of a bunch of our lives. And I think everyone's trying to understand it and deal with it. I've lost people before, but never, from suicide. And the word is he just kind of slowly started retracting from everybody, and then this happened. And it happened in the course of 60 days, 70 days. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just struggling with this and wondering, of course, what could I have done? But like, if this guy was struggling with this, how many more men out there are on the edge of doing this? And how many people have come so close to this? And what can we all do about it, and how can we be more aware of it? And so when you told your story of kind of going into the abyss, it hit home a little bit more this week than it normally would. And so I was just curious if you could talk about that and talk about what you know about that process. I've had some lows, but it's never gone that low for me. I don't know if it will one day, but it did for him, and it's something I'm struggling with.
You see people that are depressed, and they're very sad, and they're very down. Those people tend not to be the ones that take their lives. It's not the ones that are feeling sad and sorry for themselves. It's the ones that have got to a place in their life, or at least it was for me and the people I've spoken to, where you just don't think you have any value to add to the world, and that the world would be probably better off without you. Now that could be, well, my kids will be better off without me because they've got their mum and their stepfathers are really good.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
Good guy, so what do they need me for? Or my business would be better off without me because I'm just in the way, I'm a bottleneck to this business. My friends would be better off without me because I'm always the one that stops this and stops that. It's like this belief you have, because when you become suicidal, you're no longer sad. You're actually feeling free.
Wow. Okay.
Because when I was suicidal, I was like, I was carrying something so heavy, and suicide felt like it was very light. So you go into a place where, as I did, I went through a difficult period, and I planned what I was going to do. It was very simple: fly back to London, say goodbye to the children. And again, in my mind, kids have got a stepfather. He was a decent guy. Their mother was a good person. There was money, so the kids wouldn't struggle financially. So I'm like, well, they're financially going to be fine. They've got a mum and a stepdad, so that's all good. What do they need me for? I better go say goodbye. And so I went back home to say goodbye. And my dad's never at my house. My dad lives in Newcastle, and my dad's car was on my driveway. So what I would do is every other weekend I'd go to London, I'd land at Heathrow Airport, there'd be a taxi pick me up, drive me to my house near Stansted Airport. It would drop me off, and I lived on a farm, so it was a long driveway. But my dad was there, and he's got a private number plate, so I knew it was him. Mm-hmm. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what? So I put the key in the door, go inside the house, my dad's in there, and I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I was in London, so I thought I'd come and see you, I knew you were coming home. I'm like, how did you get in? And he said, the housekeeper let me in. And I'm like, okay, fine. He said, go grab a shower. I'll make you a bacon sandwich, we'll have some breakfast, and then I'll be on my way. I'm just on my way back from London. I was like, okay. So I had a shower, came down, we had some breakfast. He said, oh, man, there's a man I want you to meet, a buddy of mine. Maybe we could meet him before I go back to Newcastle. What are you doing this morning? Now, he knew that I don't do anything. When I land on a Friday morning, generally what I used to do is I used to sleep for a couple of hours, and then I'd go and get my day done. He said, oh, you got me, you'll love him. And he said, we'll go in my car. And we jumped in his car, and he drove me to the Priory, the clinic in Chelmsford, and introduced me to a psychiatrist. And I stayed there for 5 days with a psychiatrist because my dad knew what I was about to do, although I'd not said a word to my dad. Now, I've spoken to my dad many years after about it, and he's like, I knew what you were going to do. He goes, because I nearly did the same.
Wow.
And my dad and I aren't incredibly close. We don't see that much of each other. We talk, but we don't see that much of each other. But for him to notice that, and what my plan was that morning was to fly home, get off the plane, go have a shower, go to my children's house where they lived with their mum, say my goodbyes. And there were 3 buildings in Chelmsford, in the town of Chelmsford in Essex, that I'd chosen. I'd been to all 3 of them, and I chose to jump off one of them.
Jesus.
And I wasn't upset, sad, feeling down on myself. I was feeling relief because it was finally over. And that's as bad as it was. So I'm so sad to hear about your loss. It's so deeply upsetting when people do that. But I don't think when people do it, they do it in their headspace,
right,
thinking that they're doing anything other than doing you a favour in their mind. And so, yeah, luckily my dad saved me. Luckily, I stayed in the clinic, and they helped me, understand the pain I would cause my children if I wasn't there. Yeah. And that was the kind of catalyst for 5 years of clinical depression, but managed before I came out the other side. And a lot of the documentary work and a lot of the work with the children were my cure. Right. So I could have been given medication, but they were my medication. The children, when I saw how tough their lives were, I had no reason to be complaining.
Okay.
Things were never difficult for me. And it was just this injection of gratitude. I was so grateful, and that would last 2 weeks. If I saw the kids every 2 weeks, it would literally be that. I'd be happy as a pig in shit. So happy for 2 weeks. I'd go and see them again. They've got no idea what they did for me. A lot of the time people are, you've been so good to these kids. Let me tell you, they saved my life. You know, they gave me a future. They gave me hope. They gave me the opportunity to think outside of myself. And so I think that although suicide is a terrible thing, and we obviously know the statistics, we know men between the age of 45 and 50 are more likely to kill themselves than any other age group, but there's also young people that are killing themselves now more than ever before. They're lonely, desperately lonely people, don't believe there's any hope. I mean, you believe you go to work, you go to school, go to university, go to work. You need to save up 2 years worth of your salary to get a deposit to put down on a flat. 2 years. That's going to take you 5-7 years to put that money together. What hope have you got? It becomes empty and desperate. You do a job you don't love. You're in relationships with people that you don't love. You're not stimulated. Or you become so overwhelmed with the responsibility of being a man, the financial responsibility, that it can get too much.
Right.
And when it gets too much, and you don't know, because we all have a different compass. You having $1 million in the bank could mean that you feel poor, and me having $1 million in the bank could mean I feel rich.
Yeah.
So we have all of that different perspective, and the only thing that I can say to anyone is, don't give anyone advice. Like, nobody wants your advice, but they do want to be heard. And if you can get them to talk, it's really valuable to listen. And don't judge anything, You're there. If you are a real friend and you care about people, do so. And if you notice any of your friends are a little bit quiet, okay, just check on them. And I don't mean you drive over to their house, just check on them. It can be as much as a funny joke. Get them talking, and you'll find out, you've been a bit quiet lately, you're right. And men just don't do that enough, We're going down a pub, yeah, okay. No, just check on someone. Just like you check on your mum. If your mum went quiet, you'd be like, Mum, are you okay? Yeah? I was saved, so I was lucky. But when people do take their lives, it's just, to me, such a waste in so many ways, because it's not. I'm fortunate because I can now see, because of afterwards, the impact that I've had on other people that I wouldn't have had. And that's what, now with your friend Sam that's passed away, he's got no idea of the impact he would have on people, or he's had on people. Yeah. And that's sad.
How did your dad know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I saw my dad the other day. It was his 80th birthday.
Wow.
I saw my dad the other day. We don't talk very often, and he told me about his childhood. And my dad went through a horrific childhood. He was born in Nigeria, where my grandparents were missionaries in the Second World War, and then went to school in the UK, to an orphanage in the UK when he was 8 years old. And that orphanage was with kids whose parents had died in the Second World War. And he was 8, and the youngest kid in there was 13. And so he went through a torrid time in there as a kid. He was left there for 3 years by his mum and dad before they came back from Africa. So we had a tough time as a kid, like really tough time. And it's clearly, like everybody, has got his own traumas and struggles to deal with and cope with along the way. But I believe some people, your mum and dad do know you, but some people can just sense things. And I think my dad he could just see, maybe, because a lot of people said my behaviour, my pattern was the same as my dad's. My dad did well, he went bankrupt, before he went bankrupt he did well, was successful, okay, and he was the centre of attention. He was the guy that was buying everyone the beers, he was the guy that was demonstrating that he was doing well. Then it all went horribly wrong, and then he built up, but his personality shone through. He was a real character with everyone, and so maybe that my dad could see that I was mirroring or copying or repeating his behaviour, and he knew where it took him. But other than that, I don't know. And even if you asked him right now, how did you know? I asked him. He said, I just sensed something.
Wow. Well, thanks for that. It's super helpful. It's weird because it's a lot of feelings. So sometimes you feel guilty, and then you feel like it was a waste, but then I had to put myself in his shoes. But I guarantee you, if he could see what we saw in him.
It's always the way, isn't it? It's always the way. Always the way. What you saw in him, he couldn't see. I know what that's like, because people were like, when they found out, they're like, you would do what? Why would you do that? Yeah. And they'd list all of these different things, and you'd be like, oh, fucking, I didn't realise those things.
Yeah.
And sadly he didn't. And it's awful, but you'll never forgive yourself, because you'll think there will always be something you could have done.
Right. I always think that I've had a few people leave me in this, friends in my life, and I always think on their departure, they're giving me a lesson and a message, you know. And I had a guy in the city. I was godfather to his children, and he died when he was in his early 40s. And I think I realized then that, you know, life is so short that I better start doing what I want to do and what I love to do. And it's probably why London Real was born. And I don't know the message from Sam, except maybe it's to be more aware of other people like him, to make sure that that doesn't happen, you know. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
No, and thanks for talking about your struggle. I mean, that's very bold of you to be vulnerable and talk about that, you know, because that's hard. You know?
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.